I've finished entering all the durations in my project, so let's just have a look. For example, I've gone through every task and I've entered the durations. Some of them I've entered them in weeks, such as site, costumes, alert community, and what I see is at the top in each summary task I have the total duration for each summary task. So pre-planning is giving me 15 days, initial planning meetings is giving me 1.5 days, and really the duration for this summary task is the earliest start time and the latest finish time of any of its subtasks. I can also see on the Gantt that as I scroll down through my project, I've got 2 milestones. I have a series of summary tasks and a series of subtasks. What I'd like to do now, step 9, is turn on the project summary task, which is another summary task much like these, but it works on the entire project. For this, I'm going to click the Format tab in the ribbon. And to the far right in the Show Hide group, I've got a tick box called Project Summary Task. If I tick this option, I get a row 0 showing in my table. And the row 0 is the duration of the entire project, the start of the entire project, and the latest finish date for the entire project. It also gets the word wedding from the properties that we established earlier. When we went into File and we went into Info, we set up the project information and we went to Advanced Properties and we typed wedding, and that's what it's using. If I cancel and click Task, I'm back in my project. I can of course edit this simply by clicking on it, and I like to press the key F2. F2 throws me into edit mode, and I can edit this task if I wanted to, but I'll just click away. Also, when I look at my Gantt, I see the project summary task, which is very similar to other summary tasks except it's grey. So this is a very handy task to show and turn on, because at any point in time you can see the total duration, the start and finish of your entire project. Now, other things that are worth considering is as you start increasing the duration of tasks and they start getting longer, there's a need to sometimes zoom in and zoom out. Towards the bottom right corner of your status bar, you'll see you have a plus, and if I click it, I zoom in. If I hit the minus, I zoom out. And you'll see my timescale is changing as a consequence. So I'll hit the plus again. Another way to actually zoom is to go to the View tab in the ribbon. And you have a series of zoom options in the zoom group. For example, I could zoom the entire project. I could zoom to a certain out or in level. Or I could click the zoom option and set a level of zoom that I'd like to see. So maybe 1 month, and OK. If I'd like to change my zoom back to what it was, I'll set the time scale to either days, weeks, quarters, and so on. So it's worth having a look at these various options. And I'll put it back to days. In addition to zooming, what I'd also like to show you is that by default, Project will round bars to whole days. And this can sometimes be misleading if you have a task that's 2 hours and it's rounding it to a whole day. What I tend to do is I tend to go to the Format tab in the ribbon, and I tend to go to the Layout button, which you'll find in the Format group, and click the Layout button. What I do in here is I untick this option and ask Project not to round bars to whole days. And in fact, I make that part of my template, so consider this being a setting that's part of your template also. And you see a slight adjustment in the length of the bars. The other thing I tend to customize are these grey vertical non-working days. What I like to do is I like to double click these grey bars and bring them in front of these tasks. Otherwise, people tend to interpret the Gantt that I actually want them to work on Sunday, because the bars go straight through Sunday. It also tends to imply that they've got an awful large amount of time to get a task done, which is not always true. So I'm going to double click one of these grey bars, and I have the option to bring it in front of the task bars by clicking this option here, and I'll click OK. This then shows the reader of the Gantt that I don't expect them to work Sundays and that they don't have all the time in the world. The other thing I like to do sometimes is to change the date format. At the moment I can see the date that tasks are starting and finishing. Sometimes it's useful to also see the time. So if I go to File in the ribbon and I go to Options, what I can do in the General group is change my date format. If I click this drop down, I can choose the one above, which includes a time as well as a date. And I'll click OK. I can now see exactly the time that I'm starting and finishing, and double check that everything's working as it should be. For this particular project, I'm actually going to put the date back to exclude the time. So I'm going to go back to File, go back to Options, and I'm going to set the date format back to just a date, and a short date at that, and OK. So consider your zoom levels using your minus or your plus, or going to View in the ribbon and zooming in this area here. Also consider whether your grey bars should be in front, and I'd consider that to be part of the template as well. And also consider whether you want to round bars to whole days or not.